Hello, class of 2024. My name is Oliver Ahdoot, and I graduated from Brophy as the class of 1958. If you're watching this, it means that I'm 85 now. I've been on this earth for a while now, and I've realized that the most paramount moments in my life were not the biggest or the loudest, but the smallest ones where grace appeared. These graces appeared as small and unimportant, but they were nothing short of powerful. I am here to share with you the 3 times in my life that different graces empowered me on my journey through my academics, family, and most importantly, my religion. My hope for this lecture is to give you insight in how graces don't only aid in the holy or the flawless, but for all of us when life can get challenging. When I was 15 years old, my family and I lived in southern Phoenix, and I went to a regular public school. At this school, I made great connections with people who would be my friends for the rest of my life. I had amazing experiences and even had a girlfriend at the time. This all seemed great until suddenly my dad lost his job at the local real estate firm. We had to quickly find something that would fill for his previous job. After lots of searching, my father found the next closest option, which was in central Phoenix, which at the time was about 45 minutes from where we were currently. This meant that my whole family had to move down to central Phoenix to make our daily lives easier. I was devastated because this meant leaving all my friends and everybody that I ever knew. Soon enough, I was living down in central Phoenix. This meant I had to look for a new high school. I came across a couple of schools and found Brophy. It stood out to me because it had really good religious aspects and good academics. So I decided to enroll and surprisingly got accepted. And soon enough, I was walking through the doors of the McCain Colonnade here on these very grounds. I was terrified, not knowing anybody. I spent my first day not knowing what to do, completely lost. I spent that entire week not talking to anybody, sitting alone at lunch, and staying quiet during class. I was truly contemplating moving schools. Until one day, when I was going to the corral to grab lunch, I noticed a small gathering of boys congregating near the Brophy Chapel. I decided, in the spur of the moment, to follow them into the chapel. No one noticed me until I sat down, and one of the boys stood up and gave me a small prayer book, and I didn't ask a single question. I sat there in the back of the Brophy Chapel, listening as we sat in solidarity and prayer, and for the first time, I felt that I wasn't completely alone at Brophy. I started attending these gatherings regularly, every single week, and occasionally I would attend after school. I would start to know this group of boys, and they would eventually invite me to the lunch table, and we would talk until the bell rang. It was not until the end of the year that I realized that baptism was way more than something that I received when I was a small baby. It was an upbringing, an invitation to a new community that would eventually help me during my high school career. God will help me integrate myself into Brophy's community when I felt most out of place. This is when I truly realized that without this grace, that I would have been completely isolated or even left Brophy. Instead, this grace gives me the strength to keep going, open up, and let others in. The second moment came years later when I was in my early 30s. During this aspect of my life, I was in a good position. I was overall pretty content with my life. I graduated from college at Georgetown University. I had a stable job and it felt like I was on top of the world. When out of nowhere, I caught a cold one day, but thought nothing of it. I expected this cold to disappear within a couple of days, but no, it never went away, and eventually I was bedridden for almost 2.5 weeks. With my condition worsening, I decided to bring myself to the hospital to run diagnostics. They found something very serious. I had a bad case of pneumonia and it was affecting my lungs dramatically. They started to prescribe me medications, telling me the side effects and how long it would take for me to recover, but announced to me it would be a long journey back to full recovery. For a long time, I had to rely on others to help me, which I was never used to doing. I felt weak in every aspect of my life, religiously, physically, and mentally. I couldn't understand how my life could be going so well and then suddenly take a turn for the worse. I was frustrated and emotionally drained, and I felt ashamed of myself for breaking down so easily. After a couple of weeks of me being ill, my dad decided to take me to Sunday morning mass, which I hadn't attended since I got sick. I sat there, thinking, reflecting on my life, and how I might never be the same again. After the service was over, my father was talking to the priest and asked if I could receive the sacrament of anointing of the sick. I was reluctant at first, just wanting to go home and not make a big deal out of myself. After some convincing, I accepted, and the priest made me sit in the back of the pews. He came over to me, placed his hand on my head, recited some prayers, and anointed me with holy oil. And just like that, I was on my way home. While I was on the way back, I noticed something. I felt at peace, and somewhat like a major weight has been lifted off my shoulders, something that I haven't felt in a long time. I sat there and reflected once more on the prayer the priest provided me. I noticed that anointing me didn't cure my illness, but it gave me the courage to live with it. It would help me to fight it. It allowed me to face the unknown and not back down. From that very day on, this idea helped me to keep going through times of doubt and eventually brought me on the road to full recovery. Nothing in my daily life changed. I still had to do my daily commute to work, take my medication, and rely on others to help me. But now I had the courage and the hope to push through and carry forward. Now, seniors, for my very last moment, I would like to share with you all the times in my life where I couldn't truly find my purpose. My life was stable, and just like any other man in his late 40s, I wasn't missing happiness or adventure, but what I was lacking was my use in this world. It was one day, when I was at a family event, that this would all change. It was like any casual family meeting, barbecue, games, and football. Like everybody else, I was sitting right next to the barbecue looking down into the blazing fire, until my younger cousin Daniel pulled a seat right beside me. Daniel was a distant cousin of mine, and we never truly opened up with each other before. But now to me this had all changed. He started telling me more about his life, and how he wasn't in a good position anymore, and how he truly overwhelmed by the elements of the world. He told me something that I heard myself saying very often: I don't know what my purpose is. I realized that what he was talking is a very similar situation that I am in. I didn't give him a grandiose answer, but instead sat there, listening, and answered his questions. Later, when everybody was leaving the gathering, my Aunt Suzanne came up to me and told me, "You have a gift, and people trust you." I stood there, confused about what she was talking about. I left that barbecue trying to think of what she could have been possibly talking about. I went home and sat in my room and started to notice something very special. I seemed to be a steady person in the people around me. When it comes to my neighbors, church, friends, and family, it all seems that I have a place in their lives without even trying. I slowly started to notice that I didn't need to be a priest, famous actor, or a firefighter to have a purpose in this world. You can find purpose in anything if you just look hard enough, and in this case, it was my quiet responsibility and the impact I had on people who surround me. It truly showed the grace of becoming Christ for the people around me, not by delivering big speeches like this or sermons at your local church, but just by being open and walking with those around you when they're in their own mess. So, senior class of 2024, looking back on my past, grace didn't show up as expected all the time. It was hidden and hard to see, but it never failed to help me in times of need. I hope that speech left you with the impression that my life wasn't perfect. It was filled with moments where God gave me the strength to do the harder, better thing. And I hope you can do the same. Now, senior class, go graduate, live your light, and set the world on fire. Thank you.